What brings the Egyptians to Somalia? I mean,
A very good question.
Is it the GERD?
It is the GERD.
Or is there something else too?
It is primarily, as a political science, it is the GERD. Because
Great Ethiopian Renaissance Dam.
Because they feel that Egypt is losing its water, which is not the case. They feel that they are destined to control every drop of the Nile water as a resource. Repeatedly, it seems they are blind to the fact that Nile begins in Ethiopia. 86% of the water of the Nile is emerged from Ethiopia. They simply put aside the very fact that even based on international law, Ethiopia has the right to develop and to utilize and use the Nile as long as it doesn't stop the flow of the water. By the way, naturally, the law of nature, it's impossible. I don't see why they are scared about that. So they feel that they need to pressure and break and even use the current opportunity of lack of peace in some areas of Ethiopia as an opportunity to squeeze Ethiopia into, so to speak, submission, as well as into changing its policy regarding GERD.
Do you see the Egyptians having a major role when this current peacekeeping force based in Somalia leaves at the end of this year? Do you think their role?
Well, the current Somali government had literally openly declared they want to change the Ethiopian peacekeeping, Ethiopia is contributing country, replace it by Egypt. So they have clearly said that. Starting from AMISOM and ATMIS, Ethiopia is one of the 5 contributing countries besides Uganda, Burundi, Kenya, and Djibouti. They want to push elbow out Ethiopia in that respect. By the way, truth has to be told. Ethiopian troops and Ethiopia has paid the sacrifice. Ethiopia has contributed a lot for bringing this failed state into at least some kind of a state apparatus where you have now at least a transitional federal parliament, transitional federal government, a federal arrangement is in place. You have regional states. Ethiopia has really played a role in the last EPRDF government. As you know, Al-Shabaab fighting Al-Shabaab. Because Al-Shabaab had totally liberated, from their point of view, the whole of Somalia, with only Baidoa, as I recall. And it was at this moment that the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Meles Zenawi, decided, and as a policy decision, Ethiopia began to push. So I think the survival of Somalia literally depended on Ethiopian contribution. That is literally now being ignored. First. Secondly, the Somali reality has changed totally.
Now, in what sense?
In what sense? A great question. In the following sense. Now we have regional states. The southwestern state president totally opposes the presence of Egyptian troops in Somalia. Jubaland had also declared that. Hirshabelle had also declared that. So it seems the majority of the regional states oppose what the federal president is doing. So there is already a contest or a rivalry between two forces. One, the national federal, the other regional states. They even favor Ethiopian troops. And they openly declared that Ethiopian troops had maintained peace and security for the last 17 years in Somalia, not only fighting Al-Shabaab, but also digging wells, building roads, building hospitals, sharing their rations, food, and being orderly, without, engaging in some kind of, scandals like we see in UN missions across the world. So they have a sort of literally have developed a good reputation. So they want the continued presence of Ethiopian troops, while the federal government is saying we want to replace it. So that is still an unresolved issue, because now more and more in Mogadishu, even in parliament, the parliamentarians who come from regional states, they are opposing the president's view. So my prediction is they are trying to reverse the decision of the president by imposing pressure on him. First and foremost, they are already put his cabinet under pressure. The prime minister will be gone, I predict, in the coming few weeks, because he's losing support within parliament. Although he's named by the president, he has to have the backing of the Somali parliament. So it's not an easy thing. So this. Another point that I would like to share with you is the role of the Egyptians. Yes. In what way and manner, as well as in what strategy are they going to follow by their presence in Somalia? Is it a direct kind of a way, or is it an indirect way of influencing Ethiopia? Because from what we see since last week, the Egyptians are now, it seems, ready to arm, to support, media support, finance, money, media, and everything to any opposition group, Ethiopian-based opposition group. They are ready to do that just like they did 35, 40 years ago to OLF and other liberation fronts and national movements. So I think it seems they have opted now to have adopted a tactic to put pressure to sow disunity, to sow lack of peace in Ethiopia by arming and supporting opposition groups rather than directly, because Ethiopia is a formidable opponent. A formidable opponent, and history testifies that many times the Egyptians have tried to control the source of the Nile, whether it's the Battle of Gundit or Battle of Gura. Every time they have been soundly defeated by Ethiopians. I think they know that handling Ethiopia is better with care, and influencing and breaking Ethiopia, quote unquote. We'll see whether they will succeed, is by using indirect tools, so to speak, rather than direct military challenges.